Definitely do not forget to subscribe and like this video. Let's take a look at integer notation first, and then pitch class sets. First, integer notation is just a way to represent all of our notes with numbers, and it doesn't matter what octave the notes are in. So here we go with integer notation. You'll see from C to the next octave labeled just as numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so forth. And then the last two, we have a couple of letters, T and E. And of course, a half step up from E is C again, so, or E, the one labeled E, that is quote-unquote an integer. Next, let's take a look at our interval classes. These are really quite simple. If you're not familiar with your intervals, please check out Music Theory in One Lesson on this channel. And at the end of this video, I'll leave a link to it. So 1 is our minor seconds, and the inversions, major sevenths. 2, major seconds, minor sevenths. 3, minor thirds, major sixths. 4, major thirds, minor sixths. 5, perfect fourths and fifths. 6 and tritones. 6 is tritones. So basically what's going on here is we have each interval and its inversion, and that gives us 6 types of possible intervals here. Let's spell a C-sharp minor chord, and then what we're going to do is represent it in interval notation, and then I'm going to show you how to use an interval vector to represent this chord, and we're taking a look at another chord after that. So C-sharp minor, and if you don't know how to spell chords, please watch Music Theory in One Lesson, is spelled C-sharp, E, G-sharp. In integer notation, that's going to be a 1, 4, and 8. Each interval vector has 6 digits. Each of these pertain to the interval classes that we already looked at earlier, 1 through 6. And then 7 through 11 represent our inversions, and you're going to see how this works in a moment. When you're using an interval set like this, or vector, what you're doing is you're representing each interval in the group of intervals, or the chord. So in this case, we're going to represent the interval C-sharp to E, as well as the interval C-sharp to G, and the interval E to G-sharp. Let's start off each interval type at 0, because we haven't taken into account any of our intervals yet, so we don't have any of the types of intervals. Now, the numbers here in these brackets are going to represent how many of those intervals we have in this set of intervals. So, C-sharp to E, well, what interval type is that? That's a minor third. So that's a number 3 as far as our interval types that we looked at the beginning of the video. Then C-sharp to G, the 1 to 8, really, is a perfect fifth, which counts for a 5, so let's add 1 to the 5 column. And then E to G-sharp is a major third, which is a 4, so let's add 1 to the 4 column. And what we have is a 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. And this represents major as well as minor chords. Next, let's take a look at the pitch set 1, 3, 4, 9. Okay, so a different way to look at how to do this is to also subtract our numbers. So I'm just going to say 1, 3, 4, 9, and I'm going to leave out the actual note names. And then we're going to take those intervals and actually subtract the smaller number from the larger and arrive at the same type of set or vector. Let's start with the 1. So 1 and 3. Well, 3 minus 1 is 2. So let's add a count to the 2. 1 and 4. Well, 4 minus 1, that's 3. So let's add a count to the 3. 1 and 9. Well, 9 minus 1 is 8, And as you see, the 8 there is above the 4 because the 8 is the inversion of the 4. Well, let's add 1 to that column. Next, 3 and 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. Add 1 to that column. 3 and 9. Well, 9 minus 3 is 6. Add 1 to that column. After that, we have 4 and 9. Well, 9 minus 4 is 5, so let's add 1 to that column. This sums up integer notation as well as interval sets, or you can call them vectors. Anytime you run into these types of things, you begin to add up the intervals. So, let's say we had 2 minor seconds in this. Well, then there would be a 2 in the column for 11 and 1. And then you represent this particular chord with the vector 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Don't forget to text I love music to 44222 to receive your free music and guitar ebook, or visit musicandguitarlessons.com for more awesome lessons.